Shalom, Sister Ebony,
And Sister T.
Sister Tay, and welcome to The Rock. Right now, you are joining us while we are planting. We figured we kill two birds with one stone. Even though we don't like to kill the birds here intentionally. But we wanted to finish the series that we had started with talking and being quiet. So this one is we're going to be talking about being quiet and any more understanding or, I guess revelation, for lack of a better word, that we've gotten on being quiet, what that means, what it looks like, and any other examples or anything that we have.
Yeah, so we're reminded that in Scripture it teaches wives to, what it says, a silent and loving woman is a gift from Yahweh. And so sometimes I know we've mistaken being silent, or in the context that it's used, it's like you can never talk ever. You walk around mute. You'll ever have an opinion, never a thought, nothing to add. Especially if you're coming from if you're used to being loud, But we are taught, or if you look out through Scripture, it's not that a woman never had anything to add and was always silent, but the correct way was always using a time and place for everything under the sun. Like knowing your timing, being mindful of what you're talking about, when you're talking about it, when are you having these discussions, and how you carry it out, how you carry yourself. It's the quietness you're supposed to walk with, that internal silence. You're not having an argument with your husband just inside your head, in your heart, or arguing about what you agree and don't agree with, but a piece about his position and a piece about your position and who you are as a wife. And then, yeah, just pretty much how you carry yourself. What would be a good example?
Well, as you know, it's hard to be quiet when you're being corrected, because most of the time, well, not most of the time, but you cannot always agree with what you're being corrected on. There's always a reason why we did something and that we want to share, and it gives us a good, reason why we did something that we want to share during correction, and our husbands don't always, they want to be able to correct us and us go fix it most of the time without all the excuses. So a lot of times we're either arguing, talking back when we're not supposed to, not giving our husbands reverence and honor during those times, which are not being quiet. Some women are loud and boisterous, trying to get their point across, especially in this time and age when we're coming from the world and that is the norm. Women are able to voice their opinion. Women are able to say what they need to say.
We have freedom of speech.
Yeah.
That's our, what is it? It's part of the Constitution. We have freedom of speech. That's our constitutional right.
We have a right to speak our mind, So it's just different. We have to get a different mindset of how women are supposed to be. And then also being quiet in our thoughts, because if our thoughts are not quiet, if we always, if we're talking in our head, we have stuff to say in our head, it's going to come out some way, whether it's verbal or nonverbal. And so that causes us not to be quiet.
We wanted to give a couple examples of some nonverbal cues. We even use some that we've done, but just in general that we've seen or that we know of. Nonverbal cues or being loud without even speaking any words could just be walking around extra silent, stomping around. That is actually being loud. You're being seen. It is out of character. It is not operating the way your master wants the family operating, walking around, stomping
Or
around.
you don't even have to be stomping around. You can just be extra quiet, out of the norm. You're just not in your normal state of behavior and mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say someone is trying to talk to you and you don't want to answer or something like that. Or
That's actually loud. Or huffing and puffing. When you're being spoken to or not spoken to, you're like, you ever do that?
rolling your
That's
eyes.
actually being loud. You're not operating, so you're not being silent. Even if you said, well, I didn't say actually anything. Well, you did. Our master reminds us a lot of times that body language is like, what, 70% of communication? It's somewhere, a pretty high number. Your body language communicates louder than your mouth. And you think all the talking we do in this society that you're talking, but really, to know you, it's not just hearing your words, although your words do matter. It's watch your body language, watch how you carry yourself. We'll tell you the rest of it. We'll put the pieces together, you know. Or just you ever be quiet and be like, you gotta look at puppy face, and then you go in front of the master's face. You don't say nothing, just put a puppy face on. You're pouting about something. Maybe you just been rebuked or corrected, and you want him to know you just hurt my feelings, or you said something to me that I didn't like.
Yeah, so what being quiet should look like from our understanding that we've gotten thus far is being quiet in your thoughts, not getting so emotional, not taking everything as an offense, especially when you're being corrected, um, knowing when to speak, when not to speak, how to speak, using your words wisely and not talking out of emotion, where you're later have to, want to take things back or have to apologize because you said the wrong thing because you were talking out of your emotion. Um, and being quiet in your behavior and how you portray yourself. I said betray.
One thing I want to reiterate that our master said in his response video of being quiet is just staying in a constant mindset that your husband is not your enemy, that you don't have to roll your eyes or stomp your feet or sink down into a depression if you're corrected on things or there's a disagreement or just when there is, for lack of a better word, a clash between you and your husband. Always going back to that mindset of you chose him, he is your head, your master, your husband, your connection to Yah, and that he has your best interest at heart, and that's a way to remind yourself that what is he saying, what I did wrong, what does that lead to, what more work does that put on him, how far does that push his vision. When you think of it in those terms, that kind of goes back to that empathy. Look at it through his eyes to better understand. And I hope in that way, that has helped me in my walk to be a more obedient and submitted wife, to be empathetic towards him as he continues on to his goal and what I am doing or how I need to fix that.
That was good. I agree. And I also would say that has helped me too in quieting my emotional thoughts. Is thinking about how it affects him and his emotions, and if he's correcting and trying to bring us up to maturity and cleansing us with the word, why give him a hard time about it, or you know, have make it harder for him to want to correct us, and then say, well, why didn't you correct me on this thing? Why aren't you talking to me? Why don't you tell me that this was wrong, and or you don't like it? Well, it's because of how you handle the correction. If you don't handle the correction, if you're not handling correction right, it can want to deter the person from wanting to correct you, because they don't want to have to keep dealing with that every time they want to say something to you.
And I will third that. I think it is very helpful when you look at it from a perspective of both your master's not your enemy, and a lot of times if they just walked out, kind of imagine if a man just walked out on you and just be like, I got to end this relationship. And a lot of times I know our master and I have had discussions, or you learn just like men too, while they walk out on relationships sometimes, or marriages, or it makes it harder for them, because who wants to be married to a woman that when you're married to them, it's bad enough if you're argumentative, or it's bad enough that we all in our human nature have all these things that we do, but the worst thing to add on top of that is not being able to be corrected. Because if he sees a problem, he's like, so how am I going to have a relationship with you if I talk to you and I'm never ever able to correct you? You just want me to sit there and agree with everything you are doing, or be silent as I watch you do something wrong and you tear up stuff. Or tear up, who cares how I feel about things, but you just want me to have this good relationship with you. And I know our master shows us very closely, if he can't correct you, then he's not going to have a good relationship with you. And any time that he's been unable to correct us, he's been distant toward us as well. He's like, what's the point? You're doing all these things. It's grievous to correct you. It's grievous to watch you acting up. What do you want, And so sometimes, even if we're not aware of it, that is something that when I know I'm thinking of it, why could he be this way or whatever? Sometimes you can find yourself, you can find the areas of where you're in error, for lack of a better word. I drew a blank, y'all.
And actually, something comes to mind. Our master just mentioned too that this word is the Bible is like a book of correction. It's correcting the people to line up with Yah, the Father. So you can liken it to that, and maybe try to look in it in that aspect if we are trying to be Yahs, and not in the Christian aspect, everything, is abstract. You don't have to line yourself up with. You can just say that I love Jesus, I love God, and all these different things. But no, this is a book of doing. This is a book of lining yourself up with Yah. And so in that we can translate it to mirror it from the marriage that Yah has with the man, the husband, or his people, and mirror that to marriage in the home with a man and a wife. We are supposed to line ourselves up with our master, our husbands, and we are supposed to basically love correction, because this person is correcting us to line us up with them so that we can be closer to them. So we should be thankful for that and not take everything as an offense or hard that this person they have something against you. No, they're trying to get you to be so they can be closer to you. So you can clean that Velcro off so that you can stick to you, or they can stick. You can stick to them, or they can stick to you. If it's called a hook and loop, but the hook part, if it has a whole bunch of stuff in there that needs to be taken out, it needs to be corrected. It needs to be cleaned out so that you can hook to the loop part.
Let me give you a real life example.
Okay.
Look at this. This is my strap and my belt. Now, we don't have something way worse than this. This is partly cleaned up because I got to get this to stick to me. But look at this. Let me see if I can come up closer so you can see very clearly. Now this, right there, all right, this is part of our hook and loop. And you see all this junk up in here? Imagine this is all your problems, your sin, your trespass against your husband. And he's trying to point out and correct you so you can get all this crap and gunk cleaned up out of you. This is what's in you. And some people it's worse than that.
Yeah, but you're like, no, that's not in there, or I don't see that.
I don't get it. Why you just being... But all this stuff he's trying to get you to clean up so you could be clean, without spot or wrinkle. Present it back to him. And this is what you fighting, and you got all this in you. And some of us, we got like 3 times the amount of this. So that's just an example of what she's speaking of. Go ahead, Evan.
So I was just trying to give some examples of ways that you can look at it to get, some understanding. Again, wives, you can go to your husband and have, ask him any questions to get more clarity on anything that we've spoken of. We just are trying to put our thoughts and any understanding that we've come to help other women be able to submit themselves and line themselves up with their husbands. And we have another aspect of, or a thought on being quiet that we wanted to speak of. We're going to end this video and come right back to you with another idea about being quiet, and we'll go ahead and end this series. We hope you have a blessed and productive day.
Shalom.